Hey there. So, one of the areas that we need to cover this week, week 6, is delivery, and it's on the module to be discussed along with persuasion. And of course, because of the way our schedule is, we don't have time to do this in class. We're barely going to have time, probably after the informative speeches, to cover the material for persuasive speaking that I want to cover before we do the persuasive speech a week from Friday. So we're going to talk about delivery here, and it might seem like it's a little bit long, but there is a lot of information in here. Delivery is an incredibly important part of giving a public speech, obviously, right? You are paying attention to your message, you're paying attention to what you want to say and the points you want to get across, and all of your main points and your research and all of that stuff. That's all incredibly important, but you also have to get people interested. And we've talked about this a ton of times in class. You've got to get them interested. You've got to want the audience to learn whatever it is you have to say. So you've got to find ways to deliver the speech. So in some senses, the art of delivery is presentation. It's almost like it's a performance, and the really good speakers approach it that way. You're going to see some good speeches along the way, especially when we talk about persuasion on Friday. I've saved those speeches for Friday's live class, but you're going to see examples of why delivery is so important. So even though we have great speeches out there that we can use as examples, a really well-written, fantastic speech can be killed by the delivery. If the delivery is terrible, nobody's going to listen, and it doesn't matter how well that speech is written. The same is also true if you have great delivery and no message. That also can be a problem. So poor delivery can kill a speech big time. Here's a really good example of this. You'll probably recognize the speech being done here, but pay attention to how this speech is delivered.
Two.
All right, so I'm Jake, or whatever. This is my speech. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair, I say to you today, my friends. And so, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together in the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will be not judged by the color of skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with its vicious racists, that its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted and every hill and mountain shall be made low. Rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of God shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Whatever.
Now, aren't you highly motivated by Jake? Jake gives you the impression that he does not care, he's completely uninterested, and it's all tied to his delivery. If you notice, he's chewing gum, and he stops periodically in the middle of sentences, chews on his gum a little bit. He's got his hands in his pockets. He hardly ever looks straight ahead at the camera. He shifts inside to side. This is a delivery nightmare. Now, what's funny is the speech that he's giving, and you probably have figured it out, is considered one of the greatest American speeches of all time. It's a section of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. If you compare Jake here to Dr. King's delivery, they're not even remotely in the same ballpark, right? He takes a perfectly good speech here, Jake does, and he kills it. And that's what happens when we get up and we give a speech and we're not really into it. And that's why I have you do self-reviews and peer reviews. Go back and watch yourself. I'm sure now I know for a fact that Jake did this on purpose, but if Jake were to, that's the way he really gave the speech. When he comes back later and says, hey, I need to watch myself, he's going to look at this and go, oh my God, this is a nightmare, right? Because it is. Now, what it is Green Valley Community College is another community college somewhere out in the United States. They decided to take King's I Have a Dream, and they did 6 different versions of it delivered terribly. So you've got Jake here doing it this way. There's another girl that mumbles. They've got a girl that puts filler words in through the speech. So instead of I have a dream, it's I have a dream. And she does that through the whole section of the speech. What's really interesting, and I've shown this in face-to-face classes a number of times, that clip you just watched is only 1.5 minutes long, and it feels like an eternity. It feels like it's never going to end. And that's because the delivery is so bad. Now, is there hope for us? Oh yeah, you bet there is. Because this is a perfect example of delivery can kill the speech. What you also will find here in a second is delivery can make a speech outstanding and really stick out in people's minds.
Hear that? That's nothing. Which is what I, as a speaker at today's conference, have for you all. I have nothing. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Zippo. Nothing smart. Nothing inspirational. Nothing even remotely researched at all. I have absolutely nothing to say whatsoever. And yet, through my manner of speaking, I will make it seem like I do. Like what I am saying is brilliant. And maybe, just maybe, you will feel like you've learned something. Now, I'm going to get started with the opening. I'm going to make a lot of hand gestures. I'm going to do this with my right hand. I'm going to do this with my left. I'm going to adjust my glasses. And then I'm going to ask you all a question. By show of hands, how many of you all have been asked a question before? Okay, great, I'm seeing some hands. And again, I have nothing here. Now, I'm going to react to that and act like I'm telling you a personal anecdote. Something to break the tension, something to endear myself a little bit, something kind of embarrassing. And you guys are going to make an awe sound. It's true, it really happened. And now I'm going to bring it to a broader point. I'm going to reel you back in. I'm going to make it intellectual. I'm going to bring it to this man right here. Now, what this man did was important, I'm sure. But I, for one, have no idea who he is. I simply Google image the word scientist. And now, you see, I'd like it to seem like I'm making points, building an argument, inspiring you to change your life, when in reality, this is just me buying time. Now, if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the numbers. This is a real thing that's happening right now. The number of talks that I'm giving is 1. Interesting facts imparted thus far in said talk, well, that's going to be a 0. My height in inches is 70.5. Note the 0.5 there. 2 times 6 equals 12. And then interestingly enough, 6 times 2 also equals 12. That's math. 352 is a 3-digit number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then almost immediately following that, we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, to add more filler here, I'm going to give you a couple more numbers to consider. 18, 237, 5,601, 2.6 million. 4, 24. Staggering. These are real numbers, all of them. And to follow that up, let's take a look at some graphs. Now, if you take a look at this pie chart, what you're going to see is that the majority far exceeds the minority. Everybody see that? Cool, isn't it? And let's take a look at this bar graph because it shows similarly irrelevant data. Now, I'm doing this because I'd like to make it seem like I've done my homework. If you were, say, watching this on YouTube with the sound off, you might think, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. But I don't. I'm floundering, panicking, I've got nothing. I'm a total and utter phony. But you know what? I was offered a TED Talk. And damn it, I'm gonna see it through. Now, if you take a look behind me, these are just words paired with vaguely thought-provoking stock photos. I'm gonna point at them like I'm making use both of my time as well as your time, but in reality, I don't know what half of them mean. And now, as these continue, I'm just gonna start saying gibberish. Wagga wah, gabba gabba, turkey, mouth in a mouth, chip, trip, my dog Skip. Rip it and dip it, Richard. I'm an itty-bitty baby bopper, and I'm hungry in my tum-tum. Brad Pitt, Uma Thurman. Names, things, words, and more things. And see, it feels like it might make sense, doesn't it? Like maybe, just maybe, I'm building to some sort of satisfying conclusion. I mean, I'm gesticulating as though I am. I'm pacing, I'm growing in intensity, I'm taking off my glasses, which, by the way, are just frames. I wore them to look smart, even though my vision is perfect. And now I'm gonna slow things down a little bit. I'm gonna change the tone. I'm gonna make it seem like I'm building to a moment. And what if I was? Amazing, isn't it? What can you do? Life's a roller coaster. You know, if there's one thing you take away from my talk, I'd like you to think about what you heard at the beginning, and I'd like you to think about what you hear now. Because it was nothing, and it's still nothing. Think about that. Or don't, that's fine. And now I'm going to stop talking. Thank you.
So that's 5 minutes you're never going to get back. But it demonstrates just how important delivery skills are, because that guy, that speech is 5 minutes. Jake over here on the left was a whopping 1.5 minutes long. They seem about the same length of time, right? The second speech gets the audience involved. He seems very passionate about his points, even though he has no points. And he's very animated, and he's using a lot of really good delivery skills. He's using facial expressions. He's using a lot of gestures, some movement. He's using his voice brilliantly. He's using inflection and pitch and tone and silence, and he slows down his speaking rate, and he increases his speaking rate, and he drops his volume some, and he increases his volume. All of these are good delivery skills. And when you're done with that speech, you feel like you just saw a pretty good speech. And in fact, in a face-to-face class, a lot of times at the end of the semester, I'll ask my students what speeches really stood out to you as being good, because, you know, I'm constantly changing these speeches. And this one always comes in as everybody's favorite speech, even though it has absolutely no point to it. So great speech, terrible delivery, kills it. Great delivery, absolutely no point whatsoever, people love it. So we need to learn to utilize good delivery in our speeches, and we're going to focus in 2 areas. So the first area is vocal licks and all of the things that we do with our voice, because in communication, there's the words, but the real message is how we say the words, how we deliver the words. The message is not in the words, it's in the speaker or in the sender of the message. And a lot of that is done through vocal licks, or sometimes it's called paralanguage in some textbooks. And then the other one we're going to look at is all of the nonverbal stuff. It says 7 there. We're not going to look at 7. But we are going to look at nonverbal things that matter when it comes to delivery and matter when it comes to connecting with an audience and getting them to do what we want to do, especially in terms of persuasion. So vocal aspects, there's a lot of vocal things, as you just saw, that matter when we're talking about giving speeches. Articulation is an important one. Articulation is simply being able to pronounce the words that you are going to say. If you go back to Jake's speech, and hopefully you all caught it, Jake obviously didn't practice because there's a word in his speech that when he got to it, he couldn't say it. Juxtaposition was the word. He stumbled all over it and tripped on it. And you want to be able to articulate what you are going to say clearly and well, because part of your credibility is how well you sound and how well you can pronounce the words you want to say. When I'm watching Jake and he gets to juxtaposition and he screws that up, I think, man, you don't even know what you're talking about. You haven't bothered to get it right ahead of time. Credibility drops quickly. So you want to articulate your words well. You also want to pay attention to your rate. We speak at about 100 words a minute in an average conversation. There are times that we get nervous, we speed up. I've talked about that. But we also can get an audience wound up or get an audience really energetic by increasing our vocal rate. Our enthusiasm that's shown through increasing our speech rate reflects out into the audience and they start feeling it too. And you saw that guy do that in the second speech. He speeds up and it's like, I'm really good. And so you could feel the excitement for, granted, absolutely nothing. But then he's I'm going to bring it to a point. I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to get very serious. And the audience feels that as well as hears it. And you want your audience to feel it. They're more involved when they feel it. So you practice rate changes. Another one is pronunciation, or as Bugs Bunny called it, pronunciation. Pronounce your words correctly. That juxtaposition thing just drives me nuts. So articulate, get your consonants, your vowels and all out in your words, say them clearly, pronounce them correctly. And I think we've talked about this, but that change, there's a big change in the English language right now with words like important, important. A lot of people are now saying that important, they're taking that T out. And it's, from a pronunciation standpoint, something that sticks to me because I'm of a generation where you pronounce the middle T, but English does this periodically where you do these swings in the way things are spoken. We're in one of those, and we're seeing words with T's in the middle drop, that people stop saying the T. Some of those pronunciation things matter, especially to audiences, so you want to be sure you pronounce your words correctly. Here's a really good clip of what happens when we don't use good vocal hooks. You'll actually see this guy go in and out of using his voice well to what we typically do in conversations, and you can almost feel the change in how seriously you're going to take this guy.
New York City, I want y'all to give it up to my man, holding it down. Y'all gonna like this cat. I like this cat a lot. Give it up for my man, Taylor Molly.
In case you hadn't realized, it has somehow become uncool to sound like you know what you're talking about. Or believe strongly in what you're, saying. Invisible question marks and parenthetical you knows and you know what I'm sayings have been attaching themselves to the ends of our sentences, even when those sentences aren't, questions. Declarative sentences, so called because they used to, declare things to be true, okay? As opposed to other things that are, totally, not. They've been infected by this tragically cool and totally hip interrogative tone. As if I'm saying, don't think think I'm a nerd just because I've like noticed this, okay? I have nothing personally invested in my own opinions. I'm just like inviting you to join me on the bandwagon of my own uncertainty. What has happened to our conviction? Where are the limbs out on which we once walked? Have they been like chopped down with the rest of the rainforest? You know? Or do we have like nothing to say? Has society just become so filled with these conflicting feelings of that we've just gotten to the point where we're the most aggressively inarticulate generation to come along since, you know, a long time ago? So I implore you, I entreat you, and I challenge you to speak with conviction, to say what you believe in a manner that bespeaks the determination with which you believe it. Because contrary to the wisdom of the bumper sticker, it is not enough these days to simply question authority. You gotta speak with it, too.
I love that whole thing. He does a great job of showing the importance of the delivery of the words. In a public speaking situation, you are looked at as the authority of what you're talking about. Otherwise, why would you be talking? And so you need to sound credible. You need to sound like you are an authority. So work on doing just that. Also, pitch and inflection come into play. Inflection is how we say the words, how we put emphasis on certain words. So this is going to totally be wrong, I know, but where you put the emphasis on certain syllables, there I did it wrong on purpose. Syllables, right? We put emphasis in certain syllables of a word, or we'll put emphasis on certain words in a sentence. So here's a good example. I didn't say you were stupid. I put the emphasis on you. I didn't say you were stupid. Completely different sentence. The 6 words are exactly the same, but the meaning is different. I didn't say you were stupid. I might have said they were stupid, but not you. Or I didn't say you were stupid. That implies I thought it, but I didn't say it. Or I didn't say you were stupid. So just by changing the inflection of the word we're talking about, we can completely change the entire message. So inflection is important, and you want to practice that. And the other one is pitch. And pitch is how high or low your voice is. Now, the guy that was just on that video, he did some of that stuff. Sometimes he'd go up here and he'd have this really high pitch. What studies have consistently found, we prefer lower sounding register voices when we look at leadership, authority, credibility. People who sound like they know what they're talking about have lower pitched voices. So they talk down here and we believe, oh, they sound like they really know what they're talking about. So you'll hear speakers talk at this level, because if they talk up here, nobody will pay attention to them and they just blow them off. So you have to work on getting a lower pitched voice. And that's why a lot of advertising centers around lower pitched voices. If you think about Allstate Insurance, for years and years, they have used an actor named Dennis Hassler as their voice for insurance, because the ad comes on and he says, "You're in good hands with Allstate." And he's got that really low pitched voice, and people think, oh my God, that's got to be secure. That's got to be a safe place to go. He sounds like it's safe. Or James Earl Jones used to do CNN's byline when CNN first came out on cable. I know none of you are old enough to remember that, but I am. And the CNN logo would pop up on the TV and you'd hear the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, go, "This is CNN." And you're like, God, everything they say has got to be true. You know, it's one of the reasons that when I ask face-to-face classes, name me a voice that you can listen to and really attribute to knowing what they're talking about and sounding like somebody you would listen to. Morgan Freeman's voice almost always comes up. We all know that. He's played God. He's played the president a number of times. He's narrated a ton of movies. He has this voice quality that is like what everybody shoots for. This speech here, and I have the students' permission. This was done a couple of years ago in my night class. This was the self-introduction speech. So if you go back several speeches, you guys did a self-introduction speech. He introduced himself as a man of two voices, and I may actually have talked about this speech before. The sound quality is terrible, and I may not play it all the way through, but you are going to see him talk about the fact that he realized at a very young age, he was about 10, that by talking lower down here, he had his voice of authority, and people placed higher value in what he had to say than when he talked in his regular speaking voice. And you're going to hear him do this. And this is way before we ever talk about vocalics in class. So I watched this speech and I was just amazed, and he got done and I said, that was incredible. Can I use it in class? And he said, oh yeah, definitely. Feel free to go ahead and do it. So I have used this in class because it shows, and you will see not just his pitch change, his whole body language changes based off of where his pitch is in this speech. And I will crank the volume up.
Do I sound gay to you? How about now? You see, when I'm in a comfortable social situation with people I know, or if I get a little bit too excited, this is the voice that comes out of my mouth. But when I'm in an uncomfortable social situation, or I need to project a bit more confidence than I actually have, I tend to talk like this. I'm a person with two voices, and to introduce myself, I have to introduce both of my voices. Now, raise your hand if you tend to respect a guy who talks like this. Don't lie, I talk like this and I don't even respect it. I grew up in the 80s and early 90s, a very different social dynamic where people who talk a little bit more like this, that voice was not only off-putting and ridiculed, but it was dangerous to have. I remember when I was 10 years old, I was talking to my mom, and I guess I got a little too excited. She told me to tone it down because people would think I'm queer. Now, as a 10-year-old, I had no idea what that meant, but I could tell from her tone that it was not a voice or an aspect that I wanted to project. I was enrolled in speech therapy classes when I was in elementary school. They taught me to speak with perfect diction, but they didn't take the gay away. They just made me sound snobby gay, so I could be off-putting on a multitude of levels. Once I was old enough to recognize that there is a correlation between the way that I speak and a group that was universally hated and ridiculed, I started to ask my friends, do I sound that gay? When they said, indeed I did, my authority voice was born. This is a voice that I use to bring a tone of credibility to my speech. Using neutral diction helps to keep me from being lumped in with any particular group, and the absence of pitch fluctuations means that what I'm saying is something that should be taken seriously. Both of these voices are me. I don't think that either one is more me than the other. There is the voice that I was born with, and the voice that I've built myself. I'm a man of two voices, and I appreciate you letting me introduce both of them.
So it's a great example of how that pitch thing really does matter, and speakers will intentionally work on lowering their pitch. Women do the same thing. Women, as in the business world, for example, as they rise up through the ranks in a business environment, they will intentionally lower their pitch, especially when they're speaking in a public event, because it's just natural that we attribute them stronger leadership skills and more credibility. So you want to sound that way. So Mary Barr, who's the CEO of General Motors right now, has been for about 10 years. She was a mid-level engineer when she first got to General Motors, and she had a pitch like up a little bit high. And then as she moved up through the ranks to become CEO, her pitch dropped and she has a much lower pitched voice now. Or Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2016, has a lower pitched voice in 2016 when she ran for president than she did when she first got out of college in the 70s and was a lawyer. She had a much higher pitch, realized I need to sound more authoritarian or more like a leadership, like I have more authority and more credibility, and started lowering her pitch. So those are things you also want to work into your speech. Silence is another one. Silence can be a big benefit. If you have a point you want to make and you want the audience to think about it for a minute, make your point and put some silence in there, because now the last thing they heard is probably going to sit in their brain a little bit longer and lock in some. So you want to work in some periods of silence. It also gives you a chance to slow down your heart rate, calm down a little bit, maybe get caught up in your mind, overcome a little bit of nervousness. So silence can be a big one. You want to try also to develop a good, strong voice quality. So similar to Morgan Freeman. And I mention him in particular because I've seen a lot of interviews with him, because he does get used for all kinds of things. He did the March of the Penguins movie. He was the narrator, and I think I watched it 3 times just so I could listen to Morgan Freeman talk. And my wife loves his voice. When she wants to take a nap, he did a, I don't know, 4 or 5 season series on Netflix about religions, and he goes and he studies all these religions. She has not learned anything about all of these religions, but she will put that on when she wants to take a nap, because she can lay down on the couch and put him on and listen to him, and she floats right off to sleep. And if I want to wake her up, all I have to do is turn Morgan Freeman off and she pops right up. And she has said this, and other people have said this as well. Morgan Freeman's voice sounds like a warm hug. You feel safe when you hear that voice. So that's a quality that audiences like to hear. So we want to aspire towards that type of a voice. You don't want to sound exactly like Morgan Freeman, obviously, but you want to get a lower pitch and good, strong vocal quality. The last thing from a vocalist standpoint is filler words. You already know from reading my grading, hopefully you are looking at the comments when I grade. Filler words are kind of a pet peeve of mine. It draws away from credibility. It makes you seem like you don't know what you're talking about. It makes audiences question you. And sometimes you just get totally sidetracked and count the number of filler words that are used. I have had people, my niece is a bad user of like, every like, third like word, like. And when she's talking, I'm counting likes, and I totally miss anything she's talking about. But this video, real short video, demonstrates, this is a speaking coach. You're going to see a speech by Ving here in a little while. He's giving a seminar on public speaking, and he has this one particular person, and he's working with her, and she's going to get up and give a spot of her speech, and then he's going to say, I want you to try something, and it's related to filler words. So just watch how much it improves her credibility the second time she does this, just based off of what she suggests that he suggests she do.
In this video, I want to share with you how if you just change one small behavior with how you currently communicate, it can completely transform how other people perceive you.
So throughout medical school, I've always wanted to be a physician. So, looking after your heart, lungs, I just went to the wards and...
You're filling a lot of the silence with the ums, ahs, and a so. So filler words are something I want you to pay attention to now. I want some slower rates of speech and some pauses. No so's, ahs, or ums. And very conscious of replacing the ums and the ahs and the so's with silence.
I went into medical school thinking that I've always wanted to just help humanity, save lives, do big changes. Little did I know that it's not all about saving lives in that life and death. It's about changing quality of life.
Big round of applause. That was amazing.
Isn't that crazy? One simple thing, just removing the ums and the ahs, the non-words and the filler words, and it completely transformed the clarity in the message and also how confident she came across.
Hopefully you were able to see that. It is amazing the difference. She sounds so well put together the second time, and all she did was take out so and like, or so and whatever it was she was using. Take those filler words out, and instantly you appear more credible, more confident, more knowledgeable about your particular subject. So Friedrich Nietzsche, this is a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. He said, "We often refuse to accept an idea merely because of the tone of voice in which it is expressed. We find it to be unsympathetic to us." That is so true. The way words are presented can sometimes kill an idea, not because the idea is bad, but because the delivery is like Jake in that very first video. This is a speech from a Toastmasters competition. And you're going to see this speaker demonstrate how tone does it. In the middle of the speech, he's going to talk about why nobody pays attention to global warming. And this is about 2014, 2015. It's getting fairly old now, but it's still valid because at the time, a lot of countries were ignoring global warming a lot. And he shows you one of the reasons why, and he suddenly becomes a scientist talking about global warming, and watch how he mimics a scientist. And I can remember back then, it's exactly the way the scientists talked about this topic. So it clearly demonstrates the importance of that vocal delivery.
Please welcome our next contestant, Mohammed Quatani, The Power of Words. The Power of Words, Mohammed Quatani.
What? All you all think smoking kills? Let me tell you something. Do you know that the amount of people dying from diabetes are 3 times as many people dying from smoking? Yet if I pulled a Snicker bar, nobody will say anything. Do you know that the leading cause of lung cancer is not actually a cigarette? It's your DNA. You could smoke for years and nothing will ever happen to you. This whole war against smoking is just to restrict the farming of tobacco. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I use these arguments, even though I just made them up, with a group of my friends. And the results, 5 of them believed what I said. 2 of them started smoking. Words, when said and articulated in the right way, can change someone's mind. They can alter someone's belief. You have the power to bring someone from the slums of life and make a successful person out of them. Or destroy someone's happiness using only your words. Does that seem a bit too good to be true? A simple choice of word can make a difference between someone accepting or denying your message. You can have a very beautiful thing to say, but say it in the wrong words and phew, it's gone. I have a son who's 4. And he had this bad habit of writing on the walls with crayons. And one evening I walked into his room and he's going at it, just writing and drawing and so on. And I said, hey, 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 hey. Are you stupid? Don't you ever do that again. And guess what happened? He did it again. Nobody likes to be threatened. Nobody likes to be intimidated. His pride would not allow it. He did it again just to spite me. A week later, I walked into his room and again, he's going at it. And this time, he was even looking at me just. I came down and I said, sweetie, come here. Don't do that. You're a big boy now. And he never did it again. Because his pride wants him to be the big boy. Have you ever wondered why nobody cares about global warming, even though it's a very serious issue? It could kill all of us. Because when you go home and you flip on the TV and you see a scientist trying to talk about global warming, it goes something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from the graphs here, the statistics for 2014, it shows the water level is rising. This table shows that the monodioxide level on the third ozone layer is in a very alarming position. The message never get across. But most importantly, if you are a person who's a role model, if you're a person who's been admired, anything you say could be believed. Anything you utter could be taken as truth. My friend Nasser, he loved his father, idealized his father. He would do anything to make him happy. But his father was the kind of person who's not easy to impress. And year after year, Nasser tried, and his father was like, yeah. First year in college, Nasser got straight A's. And he thought to himself, this is it. This what will finally make my dad proud. He picked up the phone. He called his dad. Dad, I got straight A's. Are you proud? Please tell me you're proud, Father. Yeah, listen, son, I'll have to call you back. I'm busy. I'm busy was the single sentence that broke the camel's back. And he started drinking, doing drugs, hanging out with the wrong crowd. Nasser, why? Why are you throwing your life away? If the one person in the world that I care about the most doesn't care, then why should I? And one evening I got the phone call. Nasser's in the emergency room. Drug overdose. I rushed to that hospital. I saw him on that bed. And I saw that machine go beep, beep, beep. And I saw doctors try to bring him back to life. Clear! 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 It's clear that a single word could have saved this life. Words have power. Words are power. Words could be your power. You can change a life, inspire a nation, and make this world a beautiful place. Isn't that what we all wanted? Isn't that why we are all in this hall? Your mouth can spit venom. or it can mend a broken soul. Ladies and gentlemen, let that be our goal. Canto, sir.
So you see that depiction he does of the scientist is pretty interesting, right? I mean, he does the little nose down and the pitch immediately goes up, articulation gone, pronunciation gone, mumbling, all of this stuff that makes for poor delivery. And he's got a point, because a lot of times when factual related stuff is presented, we all just kind of lose it because we don't really relate to it. It doesn't seem important to us, and it's not delivered in a way that draws us in. He also does a great job with some of the other things he's talking about, you know, the way you talk, the way that you talk to your kid, and changing and talking to them with some authority gets them to pay attention rather than just, those delivery tools that we use matter a great deal. And that's a good demonstration of that. He won the speech contest, by the way. We also have a lot of nonverbal aspects, all of those things that we do that don't relate directly to the words. So, and Vocalix sort of relates to the words, which is why we look at it separately. But this is things like your facial displays, facial expressions, that kind of thing. Eye behaviors. Eyes are very important. They're the windows to the soul, as one of the cliches is. But you want to make eye contact with your audience. And if you notice on the rubrics, that's always on there. Are you connecting with your audience? Movement and gestures. Physical appearance matters. Now, in the class, I've said, I don't care as long as you wear clothes. I don't care what you wear to the class. And that's true, because it's class. And I understand that some people will come from work, some people are going directly to work. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why I don't necessarily believe it needs to be that important, because I also make the assumption that you are all adults and you all understand that in a public speaking situation, you need to dress appropriately. We do, as a species, judge each other off of our appearance. It's not always nice. People don't like to admit it. In my Com 102 class, I actually have pictures of 6 people, and I have 6 jobs listed, and I hand it out to everybody. I put them in groups, and I say, okay, now I want you to match the picture with the job. And every single time, everybody can do it, and they can rationalize why they said this particular person goes with this particular job. And they always say, I feel terrible doing it because I feel like I'm stereotyping. We do it all the time. We do it with people. We categorize everything. You know, music comes out. Is it rap? Is it country? Is it jazz? Is it blues? Is it rock? Books come out. Is it a mystery? Is it a drama? You know, is it a Western? Same thing with movies. We, for some reason, organize and categorize all kinds of things based off of physical appearance. That's why magazine covers are very careful what they put on the cover, because they're trying to draw people in. Book covers are the same way. You know, you always get a book. Those of you that are familiar with books, you get the book with the hardcover, but then you also always get that paper cover on the outside that is designed to try to draw people in. Or one of the things back when I was a kid, when we had what we call vinyl now, albums, album art was very important, because people would see the album art and buy the album just based off of the art. Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd was a good example of that. We make judgments about physical appearance, so it's something we need to consider as public speakers. Also, artifacts. Perfect example, the second speech you saw, the 5 minutes where the guy delivery was beautiful, had no point. He actually at one point shows you that he's wearing glasses to make himself look smart, and then he puts his fingers where the lenses should be. He doesn't even have lenses in him. It's just that we do subconsciously view people who wear glasses, thank God, because I do. We view people who wear glasses as being smart. And so the artifacts that we pick, just like physical appearance, will cause people to make judgments about us. And a lot of times they'll decide whether we're going to be listened to, whether we're going to give them time of day based off of physical appearance and artifacts. And then the last one is proxemics, how we utilize space. A really good trick that you'll see on a lot of these speeches when you're talking about your main point, let's say you have 3 main points, you go through your introduction, you move. And the audience sees you physically move, and in their mind, they know this is a shift in the speech. And then you present your main point and all of the stuff you want to talk about that. And then you move again while you're doing your transition statement. That physical movement, use of proxemics, does get audiences to continue to pay attention. Another little trick from a proxemic standpoint is when you really want the audience to pay attention, sometimes you'll take a couple of steps toward them because the back of the brain, he sees that and says, oh, what they're about to say must be really important. So I need to lean in and listen. And so we use all of these different things, and we're going to talk about them individually. So facial expressions, the face alone is our most used channel to show emotion. And when you are connecting with an audience, when you get out there and you notice all the Toastmaster speakers do it, a lot of the TED speakers will do this. They'll walk out on stage, they'll make eye contact all the way around the room, and then they smile. And studies have shown that without getting into creepy smiling, a little bit of a smile makes us like the person better. And if we like the person, we'll typically give the idea more chance of being accepted because we connect with the person themselves. And then, as I said, our face is our strongest channel of displaying emotion. When you're up there giving a speech, your face should reflect how you feel about whatever you're talking about. Now, what's really interesting with emotion is there are some emotions that are universal, regardless of what culture you grow up in or what part of the world you're in, or even, we can't do this with, changing in a time machine, go back in time. But if you could go back in time 1,000 years, the odds are, even though you speak English and there may be other people 1,000 years ago who spoke what they deemed English, it doesn't sound the same and you wouldn't be able to communicate. There are 7 emotions that are displayed exactly the same by all humans, no matter what time frame they're in or what culture has influenced them growing up. Fear, anger, contempt, disgust, surprise, happiness, and sadness are all exactly the same. So it gives us, college word time, it gives us a lexicon to start off our communications. Even if we don't understand the language somebody else is speaking, we get these 7 emotions from the way they're expressed in the face. Why is that important in public speaking? Make sure that your face matches your words. If you are telling people you're excited there to be talking about something, your face should show excitement. If you are expressing sorrow at something, they should see that in the face. Otherwise, we know it's fake. And you've seen fake, right? Everybody's been in a retail store at one time or another, or worked in a retail store, and there's such a thing as a retail smile, and it's that fakey smile. The eyes don't really move, and you have the, oh, hi, it's really nice to see you. And deep down inside, we know that's not true. They're just doing it because they want us to buy something so they can make some money, and maybe they're on commission or whatever, and they're trying to help their sales. This is another reason why you want to watch your speeches, even before you give them for class. Does your face match what you are saying? Or are you saying one thing and you look at the face and you go, there's nobody in the world that is going to believe that because I don't look like I believe in what I'm saying. You want to make sure that your communication out of your face, the emotion you display out of your face, matches the emotion that you are talking about. Another one is eye behaviors. Most people, especially in public speaking, hate looking at other people in the eye. I don't know why that is. We feel challenged, but we're in a culture that likes 60 to 70% of the time to make eye contact in a conversation. A public speech is a conversation. So you want to make eye contact with your audience, not staring them down, but you want them to feel like you see them, you're connecting with them, you're talking to them. So good eye contact also shows confidence, and you do want to appear confident. If you appear confident, people give you more credibility. They say, oh, this person does know what they're talking about. So it builds trust with the audience and it adds to your credibility. And you want to look around the entire room. Now, there's a couple of things you don't want to do. with eye contact. You do not want to be the head bobber. So, you know, you're just doing this all the time and looking around. A really good example, and I almost hate bringing this up, President Barack Obama, one of the great speakers of our time, since King, I would probably rank him as number 2. If you go back and watch 2006 speeches at the Democratic National Convention, you watch 2008 speeches, or even most of his first term as president, he was fantastic at making eye contact and all that stuff. For some reason, about 2012, he changed his behavior and he kind of became a head bobber. And you would watch him give a speech, and you can go pull, there's tons of examples up on YouTube. He would look over here and look down at his notes, and look up here and look down at his notes, and he would do this. And this is basically head bobbing. It's only in one pattern. It's a V pattern, but that's what he did. And if you were wanting to, you know, get a good seat and see President Obama, you needed to sit over to the side, because if you sat in the middle where you would think most people would sit, he would never make eye contact with you. For some reason, he stopped looking there. Don't be a head bobber. At the same time, don't be a balcony gazer. I can remember when I was in high school, I had a teacher tell me, well, you know, if you have problems making eye contact with your audience, just look over the top of their heads. Now, the camera in the screen is at a certain spot, and now I'm talking and I'm looking above it. And it's quite obvious that I am not making contact with the camera, and I'm not fooling anybody. And in a real live room, like if we were in the classroom, I could do this with you, and you would know instantly that he's looking over our heads. Audiences see that, and it automatically drops your credibility, and it does not build trust. You also, and this happens sometimes, you find somebody in the audience who is really into your speech. And so you start talking to them. And because of that, you start making eye contact with just that one person, and you become what's called an obsessor. Don't do that, because that becomes seriously creepy really quick. And other people notice it and they're like, what are they looking at? What are they paying attention to? Why don't they look around and include everybody? So one good thing to do in a room that's big enough, our classroom really isn't big enough for this, but Shreve Hall would be. The double pyramid. So you start in the center of the room, down close to you, and you look up to the right, to the top, and you go across the back and back down to the center point. And then you look over to the left and up to the center at the top and down to the bottom right and come back. And it's basically a triangle one direction and then a flipped triangle the other direction. And you follow that eye pattern. And you don't want to do it like a robot, but follow that general pattern. Then the audience feels like you're making eye contact with them, but you're not becoming an obsessor and a head bobber or a balcony gazer. You're including all of the audience as best as you possibly can. Okay. Movement and gestures are another important thing. Movement while talking, it gives you a chance to move, to breathe a little bit. And like I said earlier, moving between points while you're doing your transition statement is a really good visual indicator to the audience that, hey, something is moving. That second speech you saw does that a lot. Gestures, we love gestures. Gestures show emotion. They show enthusiasm and excitement. And if we appear excited, we can get a lot of the audience excited too. And so you want to use gestures and practice gestures, and even the simple things. I did it earlier. 2 things. We all know what 2 is, right? If you hear 2, you pretty much know what it is. But by saying 2 and putting up fingers at the same time, I'm sort of giving you repetition. And we remember better when we have repetition involved. So work out gestures. You know, I caught a fish this big. You know, I caught a 12-inch fish. Now, I don't know whether my hands are 12 inches. You can't even see it because I'm on the screen the way I am. But use those gestures to emphasize what you're talking about and draw people in. I'm going to go ahead and show this video. This is a lady named Vanessa Van Edwards who studies nonverbal. And she's going to talk about how they looked at nonverbal communication in a study from TED Talks, and why some TED Talks have a lot more views than others do when they're even on the same topic. And sometimes they're even famous people speaking. Some will get more views than others. And part of it is related to this.
Thanks for watching AM Northwest. With results from a massive research experiment in our human behavior lab, our first guest says she can teach us how to be more likable. We welcome back the author of Human Lie Detection and Body Language 101, Vanessa Van Edwards. Good to see you.
Happy to be here.
How can you teach us to be more irresistible, more likable?
So, you know, I'm obsessed with this topic. I love memorable people, charisma, and I'm sitting one day, every day at lunch, I watch a TED Talk. And TED Talks, they bring up the best speakers together from around the world, and they speak on ideas. So I'm sitting at lunch, and I research leadership. And up pops 2 talks with coming out the same day of the same month of the same year with similar titles, but one has 40,000 views and one has 20 million.
Wow.
And I look at these talks and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a memorable talk or a memorable person and a not memorable talk? So we decided to study it. We coded hundreds of hours of TED Talks, looking for patterns, differences between the most popular and the least popular. And we found 5 different patterns that makes it predictable. So
Okay,
I was hoping I could teach it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the first one was we found very surprising. We asked participants to rank these tops on 3 areas: charisma, credibility, and intelligence. But here was the key. Some of the participants got to watch the entire talk with sound, and some of the poor participants had to watch the talk with no sound at all.
Well, that doesn't seem right.
Yes. So what we were testing was this principle, this idea that nonverbal weighs more, it matters more than verbal. So the only way to do that, I felt bad for these participants. They had to watch this talk and guess.
Right.
We found there was no difference between the ratings of people who had watched the talk with sound and people who watched the talk on mute.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Now, I think this is good news, right? We think we worry so much about what we're going to say.
Right.
But actually, people decide if they're going to like you, if they're going to think of you as charismatic or think of you as smart, and it has very little to do with what you actually say. And the second part of this is it happened instantly, and this is where this instant likability comes in.
So non-verbally, they can judge you or like you within seconds.
Within seconds. So we, in the next trial, we had people watch the entire talk and just the first 7 seconds. And that 7 seconds is really important. Research has found that we do thin slicing. We look at someone in the first few seconds and we decide, you know, is this person someone I can trust? Is this person someone who could lead? And the ratings did not change. Wow. So we decide if we like someone, if we're going to buy from them, if we trust them within the first 7 seconds. So all you have to worry about is that first impression, those first few seconds.
So what do you suggest that we do then in the first 7 seconds?
So here is what we found. There was a distinct difference between the first 7 seconds of the most popular TED Talks and the least popular. The first one we noticed was that hand gestures mattered a lot for charisma and likability.
Oh.
So in the top TED Talks, in 18 minutes, speakers make an average of 465 hand gestures. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot. And by the way, our poor coders had to count every single one.
Oh, no.
Yes, we love them. We love them. We love them. So the bottom TED Talkers in 18 minutes make 272 hand gestures. That's almost half. The reason why this is
important. I think
important,
a lot of people avoid making hand gestures, thinking that it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, they'll put them in their lap, underneath the desk. Actually, our hands show intention and explanation. So the best TED Talkers, they all do the same thing. You'll notice they come up on stage and they're like, I have a big idea. I want to talk to you about 3 things that are going to change your life. Right?
That's great.
They all do that.
That's great.
And it's like a cue. The brain goes, yay!
Yeah.
Like the brain loves it. And so hand gestures, if you're thinking about your elevator pitch, what I want you to think about is how can you non-verbally explain along with your words. When I'm thinking about these segments, I'm also thinking about that. So hand gestures, not jazz hands.
Right.
Purposeful hand gestures.
Gotcha.
All right. So the second one we found is a little bit harder. It was vocal charisma. So when you notice a speaker has scripted their talk, so if someone says to you, whether they have the most interesting job in the world, oh, I'm an FBI hostage negotiator.
It doesn't sound very exciting.
It doesn't sound very exciting. Yeah. So that vocal charisma.
And you know me, I'd be all over a hostage negotiator.
I know, me too.
I'm ready to listen.
Me too, but it took you a second to go, wait, is this good?
Yeah.
Or bad? So even though you said your elevator pitch, what do? 1,000,000 times, say it like you've never said it before. Right. Because your energy is the cue for other people to decide, how exciting is it? So even like, where are you from? I'm from Portland. instead of from Portland.
Right.
Right.
This is why I don't understand the fascination with the Kardashian clan, because their voices are young like that, and it's like, how does anyone really find them interesting? Because there's nothing interesting.
I think
about
that they're
them.
a train wreck, and so we also like to watch train wrecks.
Good point.
Right,
Okay.
and it also makes us feel better than them because
Yes.
we're way more charismatic.
Exactly.
Right.
Gotcha.
So the
Okay.
last one
Okay.
is to make sure that non-verbally speaking, what you want to be able to do is hand gestures, vocal variety, and then you also want to smile. Now, I know that we hear this a lot, so let me preface it. This was actually a surprise to us. Leaders typically smile less.
Oh.
So we were expecting the opposite.
Right.
But what we found was there was a sweet spot of 14 seconds. That even in the most serious talks, the most charismatic, intelligent leaders, they found something to smile about. And so what I encourage you to do is if you're genuinely happy about something, finding that authentic happiness, that real smile is way better than a fake or forced smile.
Oh, sure.
So that smile actually does help your intelligence ratings, which was a real surprise to us in the lab. We did not expect to find that.
That is absolutely, all of those things make me want to try it all.
All of it?
All of it. All of it.
So gestures are important, and you want to work them into your speeches. And again, that's on the rubric. Did you incorporate gestures? Did you use them well? Did you just kind of let your hands fly around once in a while? A lot of people think that they shouldn't use gestures and they put them down on by their sides. You want to express your emotion, especially the persuasive speeches coming up, right? Hopefully you got to pick your topic out. So hopefully it's something you're passionate about. That passion should show. The more passion you show about your topic, the more likely it is the audience is going to get into that as well. Now, one other element I want to talk about, and I'm not going to show this video because I'm watching the time. Excuse me. I will put a link up to this one later because it's very good. It's about 14 minutes long though. Related to gestures. And on this small screen, it'll be kind of hard, and I'm doing a terrible job of staying centered. A simple thing that we do with gestures, and we don't consciously think about this, and he's going to talk about the science behind it. When we talk and we use our hands in up, so if you look at the screen in the corner where I am, my palms are up. And a lot of people will talk and they'll have their palms up and they bring them in like this. That is one way typically people will speak. There's two other ways people will use gestures. One of them is your normal like home position. So the other one is they talk like this. So instead of having the palms up, the palm down, they talk and they're doing this and they're putting their hands down. The third way is they talk and they're finger pointing. So this is very important, blah, 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 blah. And they finger point. What studies have found, and it's been repeated many times, people who speak in their natural gesture position is palm up are viewed as being more open, more friendly. The audiences tend to like those people better, and they tend to go with what they're trying to do better. You simply flip the hands over and you talk like this. This way, because my palms are up, it's almost like I'm drawing you in, or I'm like mentally hugging you. This way I'm talking and I'm pushing my hands. What I'm actually subconsciously doing is pushing the audience away. So I'm actually telling you to move away from me. People perceive this in a very negative way compared to this for hand position. And then the third one is the finger pointing. This one people hate with a passion. It feels like they're very authoritarian. They're giving you orders. They're telling you what to do. You have no choice, blah, 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 blah. Go back and watch your speeches in your natural, because you didn't know this up until now. What was your natural palm position? Because a lot of times people will find out they're hands down or they're a finger pointer, and they realize people don't tend to want to go do what they want them to do, or they're not very persuasive. What they find out is if you flip those hands over, if you practice, because this is something you can control, if you practice palms up, people will accept you more. And if they accept you, they accept your idea. And this is especially true with persuasion. A lot of persuasive arguments, persuasive speeches, when the palms are up, as silly as it is, it makes a difference for how people feel about the particular speaker. So I'll put a link to that up so that you can see it later. Physical appearance also matters a great deal. As you've already heard, we make judgments about people in 7 seconds. This is true with public speakers. It's true going down the hall, meeting somebody, seeing somebody you don't know. You'll decide really quickly, is that somebody I think I could like or not? Interviewers do this 7 to 10 seconds. They decide almost in the first 7 to 10 seconds whether they're even going to seriously consider you for a job before they've even talked to you. So you have to think about, what does my appearance say about me? Will Rogers had this great quote: you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. So think about your physical appearance. Be aware of the fact you might not like that we stereotype like that. Be aware that we do it, even when we don't like it. Even when we know we're doing it, we still do it. And try to meet whatever it is you're trying to put out there. So try to present yourself as credible by appearing credible. So paying attention to how you look. So there's a thing called the halo effect. And in COM 102, we talk about this a lot. We get into depth about this. But the halo effect says that if somebody perceives you as being good, if somebody perceives you as being attractive, they automatically give you good attributes. Even if you turn out not to be a good person, we will give you the benefit of the doubt, because attractive means good. That's what the halo effect says. If we find you unattractive, unattractive means bad, and it's very hard for unattractive to overcome that bad connotation, even if they might be the sweetest person in the world. So the halo effect comes into play, and studies have shown that even when we are told about the halo effect, it still affects our judgment. We could say, oh, you're going to use the halo effect here, whether you like it or not. You're like, no, I won't, no, I won't. And then the people come along and we do it. So you've got to be aware of that. You want to appear as friendly and open and authoritative, knowing your subject, credible, confident. All of that matters, because the audience picks that up almost immediately. So when you're giving a speech, and I use this in 102, let's say somebody's coming for a job interview for a law firm, for a receptionist, and this is the person that walks in the door. They're not likely to get seriously considered, right? They don't fit that idea of a law firm, even though right here on her tattoo, it says, we the people, which we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, that's the beginning of the Constitution, is the preamble. We're going to make a judgment and not hire her, and instead hire her. Even though she may be more qualified, the appearance will matter. And so things like tattoos, t-shirts, all of that kind of stuff makes a difference. This doctor with the white coat appears more credible. We would say, oh, they definitely know what they're doing. You see them like this and you think gang member. We just automatically, that's why I put the pictures up there. And like I said, we deal a lot more into this in COM 102, but physical appearance does matter. And just to give you an idea of how big it can have an effect, the picture I just put up is from the 1960 presidential election. Richard Nixon runs against John Kennedy for the presidency. Nixon is the sitting vice president of the United States, and he has been for 8 years under Dwight Eisenhower. He's very knowledgeable in what's going on in the world. He's very knowledgeable in what's going on with the way the direction the country is going at the time. He's been a part of it. The 50s were considered a very good time to be alive. And he's a well-established politician. Kennedy is relatively new. He's a senator, but he's a first-term senator, much like Barack Obama was much later. People don't know him as well, but and age-wise, even though in the pictures they don't look at, they're only 3 years apart in age. Kennedy is just slightly younger than Nixon, but it seems to stand out a lot more. Before 1960, all debates had been on radio. So all you got to judge the candidates off of was hearing them. Now, the interview committees decided they wanted to have one debate on this newfangled television apparatus. Television had been around a little while, but they had not done a live debate. And back then in the 60s, TV was black and white for the most part. There was color TV, but you couldn't afford them. Everybody had black and white TV. We had black and white TV until I think like 1973, 74, something like that, before we got color TV. Most shows didn't go color till 65. This is 1959, 1960. Kennedy is very into new technology, and he feels like TV is a good way to reach the people. And he goes to the studio the day before the debate, and he gets to know the producers, and he talks to the cameraman and the makeup people, and he finds out how the camera shot's going to be, and he looks at the set, and he knows it's black and white. He needs to stand out. So he picks a dark blue suit. I know it looks black there, but it's dark blue, and a dark blue tie, because he wants to stand out against the gray background. And when he gets there the day of the debate, he goes into his little room backstage, and the makeup person comes in and puts makeup on him so that he looks natural on camera. And back then we didn't have the technology we do now. So he basically looked like a clown from the makeup in person, but it was perfect for what he wanted to present on television. And we go to Nixon. Nixon was in the 50s an ultra-conservative Republican. He would be a moderate now, but he was an ultra-conservative Republican. He was very against communism, and he believed, he got caught up in the McCarthy era where there was a lot of people that got accused of being communists and they got blackballed and that kind of thing. Nixon was all wrapped up into that. He also felt that both television and the movies were loaded with communists, and it was just communist propaganda, and he hated anything to do with television. So he did not go before the debate and find out anything about the set or the people or anything that he needed to do. He showed up the day of the event, and it turns out he had the flu. So he was fighting the flu. He had had a knee injury a week or so before that, and so his knee's not feeling very good. He goes into his room. The lady comes in to do his makeup. He says, "Get out of here, men don't wear makeup." "I refuse to wear makeup. I'm not going to." And that was very bad call on his part, because Nixon was a very pasty white man. And so the debate comes about, and on television, Kennedy looks just stately. He looks presidential. Nixon, because they're standing. So Nixon, because he's got the knee problem, is shifting constantly, which has credibility issues. And you've heard me put comments down for those of you who do shift a lot on your feet or sway side to side. I talk about, don't do that. Nixon's doing that. He also, because of the flu and the combination of great big lights in the 60s and the 50s to shoot TV with, it's really hot. So he's sweating, and he has, and I think this picture actually has him doing it. He's wiping his lip there. He had a handkerchief out, and he kept wiping his forehead and wiping his lip. And, you know, he looked like he was not good at all. He looked like he was about to fall over. And of course, he's pasty white right here. And he looks terrible. So where this comes into play for mattering for this class, at the end of the debate, the pollsters go find out, okay, who do you think won the debate? And did you watch it on television, because not everybody had TV, or did you listen to it on the radio? And so they got their data back, and overwhelmingly, the people who watched that debate on television felt Kennedy had won. It was not even close. Kennedy looked presidential. He seemed like he was more the person you would want to be president. Nixon looked like a sloppy, terrible person. You go to the people who listened to it on the radio, though, and overwhelmingly, the radio people said Nixon had won that debate. He sounded like he knew what was going on. He sounded intelligent. He sounded current. Kennedy sounded like he was stumbling through things and he wasn't sure how to address stuff, just by paying attention to the vocal stuff. The election was held, and there was a 4 million person vote difference between Kennedy and Nixon. And the pollsters go back after the election and say, okay, who did you vote for? And, you know, they look at the TV and the radio and all of that. And what it turns out is 4 million people difference in the voting. 3 million of the people that voted for Kennedy did so on the basis of appearance from TV. So Nixon's fear of TV was correct in his case because it did not help him at all, but he didn't help himself either. But the visual, the physical appearance part actually determined a presidential election. And that's how powerful understanding appearance is. And then you also look at the artifact side, you know, the glasses for the guy in the second speech, and you pay attention to Nixon wiping his brow and his forehead all the time and shifting. He appears not very credible. So what do we do when we're building our speeches up? Very simple. Practice, practice, practice. I know, and I've had some of you actually say I didn't practice my speech before Friday, having to do it in class. It hurts your delivery. It hurts your speech overall. It hurts your connection with audience. When you get out into the working world and you're giving presentations, it's going to hurt acceptance of whatever it is you're presenting. So practice those things ahead of time. Make sure your delivery is what you want it to be. Steve Jobs was an excellent presenter. I'll put a link to this video too, because I don't want to get into showing it right now. But Steve Jobs was an excellent presenter. He was a master at using visual aids, which we'll talk about next week, and also getting the audience involved and really interested in paying attention. You want to use those kinds of things. Project your voice to fill the room. Now, in our case, in the classroom, not that big. Shreve Hall, you got to project. You want the people in the back of the room to hear you as well as people in the front of the room. You're using their time, make good use of it. Remember to make eye contact, that double pyramid thing. Don't become a head bobber or a balcony gazer or an obsessor, but make eye contact with your audience. They trust you more if you can look them in the eye because they say, okay, they're confident. They know what they're talking about. They're credible, all just from eye contact. Use your voice like a roller coaster. That second speech, the guy that had no point, 5 minutes long, that's exactly what he did. He used his voice as a roller coaster, took you all over the place. It really helps in keeping audiences interested. Also, practice your timing, especially with humor. Sorry, any comic in the world will tell you that timing is essential with humor. If you don't do the timing right, it all falls apart. I am going to show you this. This guy, honestly, is not funny. He's really not. And after you see this, you're going to think, you know, it's really corny and it's not funny. But it is because of the way he utilizes the timing in this little thing.
Good evening. My name is Michael Davis. Thank you. Before I begin my act, I'd like to explain an old show business expression. They say a comic says funny things, but a comedian says things funny. This makes me a juggler. I have an unusual philosophy about the art of juggling. I don't think it's important how many. There are two ways to do juggling tricks. With applause, and the way that we're doing them. No. Too late. Style. You want to be impressed. No, it's not a difficult trick. I can tell from your reaction. A really good juggler could do this and even look away. Glancing around the room. Glad you could make it. Nice dress, sir. And now, without breaking stride, the object is, of course, to expand. Watch as I place the third ball into the pattern. do a few fancy tricks in case there are any jugglers in the crowd. You may wonder why I threw that ball over there. So am I. I'm only teasing. I can use all of these. If I get rid of all of these. I like to do a quick impression that I call juggling on a motorcycle. That was stupid. And so far, it's what we like the best. Find that frightening. Sometimes it's not important how many in terms of quantity. Is it affected by gravity? Or does the earth suck? Sorry, I can't control my own sense of humor, but evidently you can, so. The bowling ball, which I will attempt to combine with an egg, natural enemy of a bowling ball. The third object. The trick is to eat the apple while juggling. First, a volunteer, you, sir, please. Examine it quickly. I'd like you to throw it back to me. I'll tell you when. I did mention I'm going to eat this apple, didn't I? I hate to waste it. There are people juggling in India. Try it again. One more time. Wait. You must throw it at exactly the right time because your throw is the first throw of the juggle and I have the second throw. Did I hear the drummer? You must loft it high in the air so I can catch it and begin to juggle. I'm ready when you are.
So hopefully you thought it was funny. I think it's funny. I have a weird sense of humor. It's funny. It's incredibly corny and not funny, but because of the way he utilizes the timing, it does come out as funny. And I've said before, when you use humor, you want to be careful with it. This kind of humor, even though it's dad jokey kind of humor, works really well with audiences. We relate to that, and it makes us like the speaker more. So another thing we can do, add story. You've seen tons of story when you watch the persuasive speeches on Friday. Hopefully we get to those. You will see story get used. As human beings, we love story. We get involved with the characters. We get involved in the storyline. If you can find a way to tie your topic to a story, it helps audiences connect and remember, and it helps motivate people into doing the things that you're trying to persuade them to do. So think of a way to tie story, and it doesn't have to be directly related. You've seen examples where they weren't. I mean, underwear guy, for God's sakes, put his underwear on outside of a suit, but tied it into bullying. Think of creative ways of doing story and adding the story about when he was a kid, that's what the guy did to him that was bullying him. Think of ways to incorporate story into your speech. Also, always remember it's a conversation with the audience. You might not have them talking back to you most of the time, no, but it should still feel like a conversation. You're talking with them, you're not talking at them. Be memorable, use memorable visual aids, use memorable things in your speech that stand out and people can go, oh, you know, Abby did the thing about punching and having the fake fight to show the bruise. That's kind of a memorable thing. I went home and told my wife, hey, you should have seen it. I had one of my students beat the other one up, not really, in class to show how you can make a fake bruise. And my wife went, what, they hit each other? And I said, not really, but it stuck out. You know, it's funny. It makes people go, oh, that's unique. So do something that's memorable and be creative. These are your topics, your message. Find creative ways to get your message into your audience's mind so that it stays there. And then lastly, practice, practice, practice. You cannot over practice for your speeches. So I'm going to end with the guy you saw talking about the filler words. His name is Ving. This is a speech. As it turns out, Ving is a magician. And he's going to talk about how you can take the elements of being a magician and use them in public speaking. So he's going to talk about sight, sound, and sync, and how you need to have all three of those lined up for your speech to be effective. And this is actually a public speaking coaching thing that he does. This happens to be a TED Talk. He's going to use magic, both good and bad, to demonstrate how sight, sound, and sync, when they're lined up, makes for great presentation. And when they don't line up, it makes for a catastrophe. So, and he has a great speaking voice too.
Right, so right now you're probably thinking, oh, he didn't fulfill the Asian prophecy. He didn't become an accountant, a lawyer, or a doctor. Oh my goodness, I wonder what his parents are thinking. What did his dad say when he told them he wanted to be a magician? I'll tell you what Dad said. Dad looks at me and goes, what the hell, you want to be the Harry Potter? Thank you. And then he said, don't worry, honey, don't worry. We kill this boy, okay? We make another one tonight. Don't worry. No, don't laugh too hard. It hurts my feelings. That's funny. Enough about me, okay? Today is all about you, not about me. So I'm a magician. To give you context for this afternoon, magicians have been around for a long time, but during the mid-1800s, magic became an extremely popular form of entertainment that was generally accepted by the general public. And since then till now, it's been 150 years over that, and magicians all over the world for thousands of years, hundreds of years, I do get that wrong. But here's the thing, for over 150 years, magicians have actually entertained billions of people all over the world, right? Now I guarantee you, every single one of you in this room has seen a magician perform in some way, shape or form. But there's something you've never, ever seen a magician do. You've never seen a magician practice. The way a magician practices is truly profound. If I could share with you this formula today, it would give you an understanding how to take your presentation ability from where it is to a whole new level. Magicians are masters at showmanship and presentation. And that's what I'm going to share with you today, that formula. So here's the thing, I do need somebody to join me on stage. I'm going to ask somebody just up close. And do you mind just joining me on stage just for a moment? Do you mind? Please give a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. And we're just going to invite you over here with the camera. And look, we're not related. I could sense it from the room. But if you could just stand over here. Just stand over here if you don't mind, just right here. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to show you, when magicians practice, there are three things they have to keep in mind. The first thing is called sight, second thing is called sound, and the last thing is called sync. Three things. So I'm going to explain them one at a time. So the first thing is sight, and you're the closest, so I want you to make sure this is all real. Okay? So do watch this. Sight, we have to make sure it looks real as possible. Watch. Right? Oh. Now watch this again. I'll show you again. One more time. Watch carefully. This is the two of spades. Clubs. Don't take your eyes off it. Once, twice. If I shake it, it comes to 10. So here's the thing. Magicians have to practice immensely in order to improve. So, you okay? Everything's okay? Brilliant. Magicians have to practice immensely in order to get the sight right. Okay, it's still very difficult. It's something we practice every single day. But sight isn't the only thing we have to focus on. We have to focus on the sound. So sound, I'll explain to you exactly what sound means. Sound is what we say and how we say it. So now join me in sleight of hand and showmanship. An example here. So if you could hold your hand like this for me, if you don't mind. This is sound now. This is what we're going to do. We're going to play a game. And you'll be playing this game with the rest of the audience, so please do join us. Watch this carefully. Two of hearts. Don't take your eyes off it. What card is in your hand right now? What do you think it is? Something different, right? Well, of course, I'm a magician, but here's the thing. No, of course it's a two of hearts. I'm not that good, okay? It's still the two of hearts. There's only one card. It has to be the two of hearts. It couldn't be anything else. Oh, that's fine. Just building suspense. That's all I'm doing. But now that there's a 2 and there's a 3, you have to focus on the 2, not the 3. Now it's truly a gamble. Okay? So what we do is this. Watch the 2, don't watch the 3. I'll be fair as I can. Who has the 2? Good. Good. But wrong. This is the 3. There's our 2's over here. So because there's so many people here, I'm going to have more cards for me and less cards for you, because it's more difficult. So here is the 2. So watch the 2, don't watch the 3s, okay? Watch the 2s. If I take the 2 now, watch carefully. If I take the 2 and I leave it in your hand, obviously I have to distract you now to take the 2 from you, right? But I would never say that unless I've already done it. So if you could turn that over, obviously that's the 3. Good. So we're going to slow this down. We'll slow this down. We'll slow this down. So keep your hand there. I'll slow this down for you. This time I'll give you one of the 3s and you focus on the 2. Watch the 2. Can everyone see it? It's okay? Good. As you watch the 2 and you don't take your eyes off the 2, you watch it go behind the 3. What happens is, do you know what you lose track of? The card in your hand. Because this card over here, if you look back here, that's actually the 3. Yeah, that's a little bit strange. Good, good, good. Okay, here's the thing. You guys can watch it in the video again if you want. Now watch this. The 2 here goes in my pocket. Don't take your eyes off it. In my pocket. Is that fair? No, it's never fair. But that's fine. We'll argue about that another time. 2 3s in my hand. There's the first 3. There's the second 3. 2 3s. What if I said to you, my hand's going to go up like this, into my pocket. I'm going to palm the 2, switch the 3 for the 2 and the 2 for the 3, and you won't see it. Would you be impressed? Okay, thank you. Good. Okay. My fiance wasn't that easy. Watch this very carefully. Do you watch my right hand? Do you watch my left hand? My left is your right, my right is your left. But do you watch the pocket, the inside pocket, the cards here? Do you look at me? Never look at me because, sorry, that's when it actually happens because you don't see it go. Because obviously my pocket has to be then the 3. So this is a psychological game, so hold your hand like this. It's a psychological game for one reason. Watch this. Because, I let you win one game. Do you know why? It builds your confidence, you bet more money, right? But if you look carefully, it's not a game about gambling. It's a point I'm trying to make. Because I use 4 cards, it's how I cheat. It's up here, right? Now watch this, watch this. Don't take it, I'll be so fair, watch this. Watch, 1, 2, so fair. Watch, watch, watch. 3 goes into my pocket, so fair, so fair. Now think about this. This is the $1 million question. What card do you think is in your hand? No, what do you think? Say whatever you like. What does everyone else think? 3, good, good, good. This is when I use reverse psychology. So that's fine. Good, thank you. Now watch this. I do want you to win, because if I make you lose, then you won't like me and the rest of the presentation won't go well. So hold your hand like this. If I want you to win, I'll always give you the 2. But do you really think I want you to win? Of course not. No, but I said I want you to win. Okay? And this final one as well, if you watch carefully, how could you possibly lose when now you have a magician as your friend? Every single one, listen, the first one, the second one, and the third. Please give her a big round of applause. Thank you very much, Dinesh. You'll make your way down. Brilliant. Here's the thing. Thank you. Good. So here's the thing. You've now seen sound. How much more does that improve the magic? A lot more, right? It's not what you do, it's how you present it. So the last thing I'm going to show you, just via the camera as well, is called sync. It's when the sound doesn't sync with the sight, or when what you do doesn't sync with what you say. How bad that can be for magic. So for example, if you watch closely, if I take this coin here, as you can see it quite clearly, if I take the coin and I place it in my other hand here, what happens is, sorry, I'll just make that disappear. Why wasn't that magical? Because all of you knew that it was in this hand. Because you could see me watching the other hand, even though I said I'm putting it into the other hand. There was an inconsistency. It wasn't synced. And as a result of it not being synced, you didn't believe me and the magic trick was shit. Okay? So, now here's the thing. Now I'm going to dive into this area of sync a little bit more because I think it's quite fascinating. Because you get sound, you get sight. Now let's look at sync. And for this, I need another person to join me. I do need a random person. So what I'll do is paper ball. Throw this into the crowd. Somebody catch that? Good. Who caught that? Good. Could you please join me on stage? Please give a big round of applause as she joins me on stage. Thank you very much indeed. Good. Thank you. Oh, she sent her husband up instead. That's great. Vin, how are you? You are Baron. Baron, if you could please have a seat there for me. Baron, you can find a packet of cards just there on the table. And I want you to have a look at the packet of cards. Please do take them. And look through all the cards for me if you don't mind. Make sure they're all different. Okay? Let me know once you've done that. Good. So now that you've seen they're all different, I want you to just take one of the cards that you want, and whichever one. Most men go for Ace of Spades. Don't become another statistic, Baron. Just take a different card again because that seems too easy. So please take a card you want, place it down towards the middle, in the middle of the table, and put the rest of the cards aside. Let me know once you've done that. You've done that? Good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make quite a bold statement. I'm going to bet you the entire contents of my wallet that I'm going to be able to, through inconsistencies that you do, I'm going to be able to work out what that card is. And I did actually go to the ATM today and withdraw $1,000. So I will put my money where my mouth is, even though it's against my cultural values and beliefs. No, but I will do this. So listen, Baron, you stand to win $1,000. Baron, very simple instructions. The only thing you need to do at this point is you need to name the cards from ace through to king for me. So ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold the mic. Thank you. And sorry, because I'm not a mind reader. So just kind of ace through to king. Not too quickly, just at your steady pace. And go for it now.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Jack, king, or queen, king.
Okay, good. Okay, what this tells me is okay. Brilliant. Did you see that in the beginning? Very confident start. Very confident start, went into it. And then towards the end, it was like slightly awkward and seemed a little bit constipated, right? So, no, listen, this is true. And the smile confirms, thank you. So what this tells me is that his card is probably the 8, 9, 10, or Jack. Because it wouldn't have been the queen or the king, because he would have remembered it if it was, but he didn't because he became confused. Thank you for smiling. It actually confirms it. Thank you, good. So here's the thing. What I'm going to do now, Baron, is something very specific. 8, 9, 10, or the Jack. I'm going to accuse you and say things like, is it the 8? Is it the 9? Is it the 10? Each time, just say yes. Say yes every single time, okay? Because what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to create an inconsistent situation. 3 of those times you'll lie. 1 of them will be the truth. And don't just go, yes. Say, like, yes, it is Vin. Like just conviction. Are you ready?
Yep.
Was it the 8?
Yes.
Was it the 9?
Yes.
Was it the 10?
Yes.
Was it the Jack?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
the 8 and the Jack. Lies, obviously. You can tell your wife probably, bless your wife, she's probably thinking, oh, great, I can read him like a book. It's good. So here's the thing. I'm going to write down what I think it is. Okay. Okay, good. And if you could just name any suit you like, name a suit, anyone you like.
The hearts.
Good. People never name their own. Okay, so it's either the diamonds, clubs, or the spades. If you had to name another one knowing this now, what would you name? Top of your head.
Club.
Okay, good. I've already written it down. Okay? Please don't look at it. Listen, if I get close, right? It's amazing. I think it's pure genius if I could get it close. Could you just turn around and show everybody what it is? No, show yours. Obviously. And, okay, listen, this is, I didn't expect this. But of course I got it right. It was the 9 of diamonds. Please give him a big round of applause. If you can see that, I'll show you. Right there, 9 of diamonds. Thank you so much. Thank you, Baron, as you make your way down. Thank you so much. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. Listen. Here's the thing. Why did I go to all the so I just put the money in my pocket. Here's the thing. Why did I go to all this extreme to prove to you sight, sound, and sync? I did it for a very specific reason. When you're being inconsistent with a magician, I think it's extremely entertaining and fun. But when you're being inconsistent in life and your words don't match your actions, what happens? People don't trust you. In a relationship situation, she won't love you, he won't love you if they don't trust you, if you're inconsistent. To me, this is very, very important. If you're a leader and your people don't trust you, they will not follow you. I'll give you an example. A CEO I worked with, paint the picture, extremely difficult time in the industry. He walks out on stage. I know we're going through a tough time. I just want you to know I have the strategies to be able to get us through this. Okay, let's step away for a second. Don't laugh. I think it's very sincere and very authentic. But here's the thing, when I spoke to him after, I realized nobody in the room believed him. But here's the thing, this is the worst part. When I spoke to him, I go, what are your strategies? He told me them. I was like, wow, that's actually really good. And then I asked him, do you genuinely believe you can take them through this? He said, yes, Vin, I can. I know I can. He believed he could, and he knew how. But people didn't believe him because he didn't appear confident. He didn't sound confident. His actions and his words didn't match. Right? That's the thing. This is the even worse part. When I asked him, do you know what went wrong? And I played the video to him. He's like, yeah. He listed me everything that went wrong. I bet you, every single one of you in this room right now already has all the pieces of information you need to become a better presenter. Every single one of you. You already have the knowledge, you already have the information, you already got it. I'll prove it to you. You've seen speakers from many events and you sit there and you think to yourself, damn, it is boring. Yep. Wow, it's just speaking so slowly. Just crushing. Let me see your Facebook. Right? You've done this and you also know why it's boring because the content has no relation to you. It's not relevant. Or you think to yourself, oh, God, I hate those pants, right? Right? So you know what makes a good presentation. You genuinely know the slides have too many words. I'm confused. I don't know what to look at. You have the knowledge. But why do you never apply this knowledge to yourself? Why do you always apply it on others? You never apply it to yourself because of one reason. You've never seen yourself. Even when I give you the opportunity to see yourself, one of my friends, Jeff, I said, Jeff, I've got a video of you. Do you want to see it? I can give you some tips. No, Vian, no, please don't show me. You know how the videos put on 10 kilos? I hate that shit, man. Don't do that. No, don't show me, Vian. And I hate the way I sound. That's not how I sound. I remember looking to Jeff very seriously and going, Jeff, you've actually put on weight. I think you actually put on weight, man. And that's how you actually sound. The video camera doesn't lie. It shows you a true reflection of what others see. So you may already know, if you have the knowledge already, the only thing you're missing is the formula, and you've guessed the first part of the formula. It's record yourself. It's very specific here. Record a video of yourself, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes long. Once you've done that, leave it for a day. Don't watch it right away. You're too self-critical. Leave it for a day. On the day that you review it, the third day when you review this, very specific way about reviewing it. And what I spoke about at the start, sight, sound, sync. So when you watch it again, the first thing you do is you turn it on mute. And then you press play, you get your notepad, and you watch yourself. How's my posture? Do you know what men do? Pick on men. When men are on stage, when they get nervous, they go, as throughout the talk, they become more confident. And do you know what they do? And they just get really crazy here. And people think, my God, what's happening in there? Right? No, I'm just doing this, obviously. No. But here's the thing. You watch yourself visually with the sight and you write down, how is my posture? Do I look confident? Do I look happy? Some people actually look really angry, right? But you don't know until you actually watch yourself. Isolate the visuals, sight, whole bunch of notes. The second time you watch this, it's actually quite easy. Turn up the volume, press play, turn your back. And you listen to yourself. Is the content in which I'm delivering to the audience, does it add value? Am I using highly technical words that nobody understands? Do I sound like I'm confident? Is there tonality? You take a whole bunch of notes there as well, my friends. And then finally, you turn around and you press play again, you watch it one more time. This time, you watch it with sound and sight, and you are looking specifically for inconsistencies in what you're saying and doing. Imagine I came on stage and I was really passionate about my voice, but not my body. I mean, imagine this. Oh my God, I love guitars. I friggin' love guitars. Oh my God. You're thinking, that guy is a freak. That's a freak, right? It's not consistent. So you write down all the inconsistencies and you'll get a ton, I assure you. You already have the knowledge. Every single one of you in this room has a smartphone. You already have the device to record yourself. You have everything you need. Now you have the formula. Record and review. When you review, sight, sound, sync. Simple. I'll leave you with a thought and then a quote that I've mashed together. To a magician, the stage is an extremely sacred place. You do not go on stage just to inform. You go on stage to influence and inspire. And here's the quote that I'll leave you with. I believe that the stage is a place that is just like life. So in other words, life is just like a stage. And before you step on that stage every single morning, make sure you're prepared, make sure you're ready, and put on your best damn performance. Good luck, my friends. Thank you.
So hopefully you got something out of that. It's a very good demonstration of how important this concept of sight, sound, and sync is. Excuse me, you want your delivery of your speech to match the content of your speech. The tone of your delivery should match the tone of the words that you have written down for your speech. And delivery can really help a speaker connect with an audience, get through to them, and maybe, yeah, you're picking something you're passionate about for your persuasive speech now, but you might think, well, it's just class, it doesn't matter. But down the road, you may find yourself facing some changes to the school system, and your kids are going to be subject to these changes, and you have very strong feelings about it. You want to get your point across as well as you can. And it's the combination of not just the words we say, but the delivery and how we deliver it that really matters and makes us successful or not. So in terms of school boards and city councils and work, these kinds of things really do matter. You can be the difference in success by how well you practice your delivery. So hopefully that helps. And then we will have class on Friday. We'll do the informative speeches, and we will also go ahead and talk a little bit more about persuasion. Be sure to watch the other 2 videos I have up as a video intensive time period, but it's because we didn't have class last week as well. Hopefully that all helps, and I'll see you all later. All right.